Greetings all, peace and welcome. This is Ifarounke Wisdom, and I am Dedri Prescott. As always, I thank you for being here. But this time, I want to take it a step further. I want to honor the sheer courage it takes to show up to this kind of work. Because, let us be honest, the places where wisdom lives are not always quiet. In fact, they are often the most unvisited corners of ourselves. Uncomfortable places, challenging places, places that ask us to unlearn, to examine, to feel. To sit with what we have been taught, what we have repeated, what we have built upon, and ask, is this true? Is this still mine? That kind of inquiry is not passive. It is daring. It is disorienting. And it is deeply, profoundly brave. So, if you have ever felt lost in that process, unsure, a little shaken, or even like you are undoing yourself, know this: you are not alone. You are not broken. You are waking up. And today's phrase speaks directly to that moment. The tension between what has been uncovered and what we are still living by. A lie from the past that has been exposed and the damage acknowledged carries a different punch than a lie from the past that I presently believe, live with, defend, and build upon. Let us sit with that for a moment. Because a lie that you still believe, a lie that you are still living with, defending, a lie that you are still building your life around, does not just mislead you. It becomes you. It shapes the relationships you choose. It dictates what you believe you deserve. It influences how you show up in the world, how much you trust, how much you hide, how much you silence yourself. And perhaps, most dangerously, it builds momentum. Each layer you add, each defense, each story, each justification cements the lie deeper into your life. Until one day, you look around and realize, I have built a reality around something that was never true. That's the punch. Not the pain of the past, but the pain of continuing it unconsciously, repeatedly, and often publicly. That is why facing it matters. Not to dwell in regret, but to stop the echo before it becomes your legacy. There is a deep difference between the lies we have faced and the ones we still live by. When something painful from our past is exposed, it might still ache, but that ache is different. It is the ache of healing, of insight, of reclaiming ourselves. There is movement in it. There is air. And here is something important to remember. We do not need to beat ourselves up for having once believed the lie. Sometimes that belief was our way of surviving. Other times, it was how we made sense of a world we did not yet understand. And yes, there were also times we were simply gullible. Times we did not want to look too closely. Times we ignored the whisper that said, something here isn't right. We all have those moments. But here's the beauty. Awakening does not require perfection. It only asks for honesty. So, when you finally see the truth, whether through pain, clarity, or sheer exhaustion, honor that moment. That is not failure. That is growth. That is grace arriving at the doorstep of your awareness. So, if you have recently uncovered something untrue, celebrate it. That awareness is not a mark of failure. It is proof of growth. Proof that something in you is ready for truth. And that, beloved, is worth rejoicing over. And here's something else, and equally important. Sometimes the lie wasn't just something we adopted on our own. It was given to us by parents, friends, teachers, people we trusted, people who may have meant well, or who were passing down what they were told. And yet, when we see it now for what it is, it can feel like betrayal, like something sacred was broken. That pain is real, and it is okay to grieve that. But please do not turn that grief against yourself. Do not punish yourself for having believed, for having trusted. That trust was a sign of your openness, your innocence, your love. So when the lie is revealed, let the grief come if it must, but do not stop there. Celebrate the fact that you saw it. Celebrate the part of you that is waking up. That is clarity. That's growth. And that is sacred. And then there's the anger. Because once the truth comes, it does not always bring peace right away. Sometimes it brings fire, blame, resentment, fury at the people who lied to us, or at those who stayed silent when they should have spoken. Anger at the systems that fed us falsehoods, and sometimes even rage at ourselves for not knowing sooner. That's part of the journey too. Feel it, acknowledge it, but know this. Staying in blame is like setting up camp at the edge of awakening. It is a powerful moment, but it is not the destination. Eventually, we are called to move past it. Not because what happened wasn't wrong, not because people didn't fail us, but because we are choosing to be free. When we stop feeding the fire of blame, we can finally gather the warmth of wisdom. And that's where life begins to teach us. Not from a place of punishment, but of power. The lie brought pain, yes, but the truth brings you back to yourself. And there's no one more worthy of your energy than the you that is rising now. But that lie that is still in place, that is a different matter. It becomes a kind of architecture, one that silently shapes our thoughts, our choices, our responses to life. And over time, it becomes foundational. We begin to build on it. Relationships, belief systems, choices we call destiny, and yet the foundation is false. And when the foundation is false, the structure can only bend so far before it begins to crack. The lie sets our trajectory off course. Sometimes just slightly, other times devastatingly. We find ourselves living lives that do not quite fit, chasing things that do not truly fulfill, becoming versions of ourselves that feel distant from our soul. We cannot build something lasting on what is not true. Not in love, not in spirit, not in purpose. And so, the moment the lie is exposed is not about knowing better. It is about rebuilding. Sometimes these lies don't look like lies anymore. They look like culture. They look like personality. They look like this is just how I am. We defend them, not because they are true, but because they are familiar. Because they have wrapped themselves around our identity. And sometimes, when we finally glimpse the truth, we feel shame. Not just for believing the lie, but for how boldly we lived it, for how confidently we repeated it, for how many others we may have influenced along the way. And in that moment, pride steps in, telling us to keep pretending, to hold the mask in place, to perform wholeness rather than admit misdirection. But here's the truth. You are not the lie. You are not the performance. You are the one who is seeing now. And that is what matters most. We cannot heal what we are still justifying. We cannot transform what we are too afraid to name. But when we let humility rise, even if it stings, it becomes the doorway to authenticity. And there is no shame in that. Yet, so many of us have been taught otherwise. We have been trained to believe that admitting we were wrong means we are weak. That veering off course is failure. That humility is something to be ashamed of. But here is what I have come to know. It takes strength to say, I believed something that wasn't true. It takes courage to say, I was led astray. And it takes wisdom to say, but now I see. This kind of truth-telling, this reclaiming, is not a fall from grace. It is grace. And it becomes part of the legacy we leave behind. A living guidepost for those who follow, for those who are watching us silently, looking for permission to tell the truth too. You are not only healing yourself, you are lighting the path. I remember sitting with someone once who said, "That's just how our family is. We don't talk about things." And I thought, what if that isn't truth? What if that is a wound dressed up in tradition? What if silence is not strength, but fear wrapped in generational code? What if we have built silence into our lives because somewhere down the line, someone told a lie that speaking up causes more harm than healing? That lie is repeated today. They don't need to know our business. What happens in this house stays in this house. And so we hide things: rape, incest, addiction, abuse. The unspoken traumas that rot beneath the surface of our so-called strong families. We say we are protecting reputations, but what we are really doing is protecting dysfunction, allowing pain to fester under the bandage of secrecy. And here's the devastating truth: a wound that is never exposed to light cannot heal. It festers, and that rot spreads to the very people who thought they were pillars of strength, but were in fact enabling the decay. We must stop claiming the ills of society that latch on to us and pass through generations as ours. They are not ours. They are viruses, infections, patterns that can be broken. But only if we stop calling them normal. Only if we stop calling them culture. Only if we are willing to speak the unspeakable and let the truth do its cleansing work. There is power in exposure. When a lie is brought into the light, it may shatter illusions, yes, but it also shatters the weight of carrying what was never yours to hold in the first place. You are not here to be the caretaker of a false foundation. You are here to build on truth, even if that truth redirects the entire course of your journey. Now, let us be honest. We don't always get to start over. Life doesn't always offer a blank slate, but it does offer us something more powerful: the chance to reroute, to integrate what we have seen, what we have learned, and take the next step with eyes open and spirit grounded. Sometimes the very detours we thought were distractions turn out to be the shaping ground for our wisdom. All of it, every misstep, every wound, every wrong turn, can become sacred material. So rather than waiting for perfection or clarity to arrive, what if we just begin right where we are, in the truth of this moment, good, bad, or ugly, and we trust the universe to guide us from there? Because something always has to happen for something to happen. This week, I invite you to ask, what in my life am I still defending, even though it does not feel right anymore? Where have I mistaken survival for truth? What story have I repeated so many times that I forgot to ask, is this even mine? My friend, every time you expose a lie that shaped you, you don't just break free. You make space for something sacred to rise in its place. You continue forward, not in shame, but in clarity. Not in guilt, but in grace. You are not the lie. You are the light that reveals it. If this reflection touched something in you, please like, share, or subscribe so that others walking their path may find what they need. Let us continue to reflect, to awaken, to embody the truth of who we are. Until next time.